A dance between the natural world and the human made. That is what we have here in verse 2 of Song of Myself from Walt Whitman. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for a video that will appear in 3 separate playlists here on the channel. Number 1 being the Poetry Discussion playlist. Number 2 being a verse-by-verse read-through of Song of Myself, and number 3 will be a Walt Whitman collection sort of playlist. Now, we have here verse 2 from Song of Myself, and it's not brief, so we're going to get right into it before discussing what is in here. It reads as such: Houses and rooms are full of perfumes, the shelves are crowded with perfumes. I breathe the fragrance myself and know it and like it. The distillation would intoxicate me also, but I shall not let it. The atmosphere is not a perfume. It has no taste of the distillation. It is odorless. It is for my mouth forever. I am in love with it. I will go to the bank by the wood and become undisguised and naked. I am mad for it to be in contact with me. The smoke of my own breath echoes, ripples, buzzed, whispers, love root, silk thread, crotch and vine. I've got a gnat. That was not in the poem, that was just me. My respiration and inspiration, my beating, the beating of my heart, the passing of blood and air through my lungs, the sniff of green leaves and dry leaves, and of the shore and the dark-colored sea rocks, and of hay in the barn, the sound of the belched words of my voice loosed to the eddies of the wind. A few light kisses, a few embraces, a reaching around of arms, the play of shine and shade on the sea, on the trees, as the supple boughs wag, the delight alone or in the rush of the streets or along the fields and hillsides, the feeling of health, the full noon trill, the song of me rising from the bed and meeting the sun. Have you reckoned 1,000 acres much? Have you reckoned the earth much? Have you practiced so long to learn to read? Have you felt so proud to get at the meaning of poems? Stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the origin of all poems. You shall possess the good of the earth and sun. There are millions of suns left. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand, nor look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the specters in books. You shall not look through my eyes either, nor take things from me. You shall listen to all sides and filter them from yourself. Now, one of the interesting things about this verse of the poem for me is where we start. Houses and rooms are full of perfumes. The shelves are crowded with perfumes. I breathe the fragrance myself and know it and like it. The distillation would intoxicate me also, but I shall not let it. The atmosphere is not a perfume. It has no taste of the distillation. It is odorless. It is for my mouth forever, and I am in love with it. So the perfumes our speaker will not let intoxicate him. The atmosphere, the natural air, however, he is in love with that scent. Now we get a little bit later in this poem the actual words that I'm going to talk about for a moment here, if I can find them. And my respiration and inspiration, the beating of my heart, the passing of blood and air through my lungs. Inspiration means simply to breathe in. Now, what is interesting about this is that, however, in the common vernacular, we use inspiration to mean motivate. Take several deep breaths in, and you will be inspired. You will be motivated. This is one of the things that sets off in our body sort of a fight mechanism. These are practices that people used way before Red Bull. Breathing in deeply, inspiring, and then breathing out quickly. Deep breathing and then breathing out quickly. This is an ancient practice, way older than the monster sitting in your refrigerator, the Red Bull that you will undoubtedly buy today. It's interesting to me that we have a poem that points directly to this because of how meta it is. This type of breathing will put you in a sort of wide-eyed, manic state. If you were to explain Walt Whitman's Song of Myself, it's one of two ways. Either it's blathering and it draws on, or it is wide-eyed and manic. The manic part of Walt Whitman's poetry. So I can understand if you think that this poem is sort of blathering and it draws on and it just kind of keeps going, the way that your grandfather might explain a story to you from when he was younger, right? That sort of, is this guy going to stop? I've heard this story 1,000 times. You know that feeling, and it might not be your grandfather, or maybe an older fella that you work with, whoever it is. You know that feeling, but in my opinion, the actual energy behind Walt Whitman's poetry is something a little bit different. Close to that grandfather type figure who just kind of tells you all of the details for a story, whether or not they are relevant. Back in 1953, I got my first car. It was a sunny day. It was a Thursday as well. I was off school because of XYZ, and my father took me. Right, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. You're familiar with the type of story. However, in my opinion, I have experienced, interacted with many a homeless individual in my life. And look, it's sad. I understand that. I'm not making fun of anyone, but there is a certain type of story that a homeless person will tell you. And if they are deluded enough, it just comes out of them. And I don't think they even mean to tell the story. Maybe they do not know they're telling the story. Exposure to the elements has a terrible effect on the human body and mind. And they can ramble on for minutes at a time, for hours at a time, about something they have maybe never even really experienced. You don't know. You can't tell. You weren't there. They, however, say that they were there, and they just keep going. That is the type of energy that is behind this poetry, if you ask me. A wide-eyed and manic type of explanation, which is really ironic with this poem, right? Because it is the type of thinking you get when you breathe like this. You inflate and inspire and become manic. You go off the deep end. But the other thing that is maybe interesting to talk about, unless I have already driven you off with that example, is the sniff of green. We have just the vocabulary here from Whitman. We have down here, stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the origin of all poems. Now, what we're talking about here a lot is the difference between human made and natural. These perfumes here, oh, I love them. I love all of these perfumes. They smell so good, but they are human made. Now, the atmosphere is not a perfume. It has no taste of the distillation being the human part of things. It has no taste of that. It is odorless. It is for my mouth forever. I am in love with it. I will go to the bank by the wood and become undisguised and naked. I am mad for it to be in contact with me. That is the natural world. Yeah, the human made stuff, the perfume, that's all great. Man, you could get lost in it, but I don't. You know where I get lost? The atmosphere, the natural world, the woods, the bank by the stream. That is where our speaker is talking from, proclaiming the proclaiming the superior nature of the natural world and to learn from it, to learn from the natural world. We have again down here. Stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the origin of all poems. If this is our speaker talking here, the origin of all poems seems to be something from the natural world, not the human made world. Our speaker is proclaiming to be the expert in the natural, not the human made. Carries on, you shall possess the good of the earth and the sun. More natural stuff. There are millions of suns left. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand. What is that? Second or third hand. To take something at second or third hand is to take it from another human, not its origin, not the natural place. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand, nor look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the specters in books. You shall not look through my eyes either, nor take things from me. After all, taking things from me is to take things from another human. You should return to nature. You should return to the natural. You should return to origins. You shall listen to all sides and filter them from yourself. The self being in one with the natural world. The self being one with origin. It is strange to sort of sell things in this way. Whitman, our speaker, I should say our speaker, is proclaiming to be something of an expert in the natural, or at least an expert in origins. He is saying here, look, spend some time with me and I'll teach you. I'm not going to I'm going to teach you to fish, not give you the fish, right? Don't take things second hand. Learn them for yourself. Our speaker here is saying, look, we have this entire world from which to learn. And if you spend some time with me, I will teach you the origin of all poems. This sort of, to me, seems to indicate that what Whitman, our speaker, is saying is if I can teach you the origin of all poems, I can teach you the natural way of things, not necessarily the man-made way of things, but the natural flow of things. This is kind of, in some way, saying that perfume, human-made, nature, obviously natural, poetry, if I can teach you The origin of all poems, what it's saying is poetry is in some way the intersection, the first intersection of human made and the natural world. Poetry is the poetry would be the nexus from which human made begins. Poetry, it seems to be said here, is the beginning point, the vanishing point, the start of all things human made. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel. There's poetry every Monday. We're currently reading through Ernest Hemingway's entire short story collection. We recently finished up Dubliners by James Joyce. We're going through Carrie and The Great Gatsby right now as well. So if you were interested in those things too, I hope to have you back for the next video.